Shalom. Call halal YAHAWASHI BAHASHAM. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so. Now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners. And to the Aquath that are listening and learning, trying to get it right, to you, I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm coming at you with another lesson in truth. And profiling a video from Chris Smith tonight, which is broadcast out of Australia. And he has a guest who's just pretty much going to tell it like it is. And with all the things that are going on, like I said, you got 3 states that are fully open, no mask requirements. You got that the shit show, which is Florida, with the millions that have been in and out of there and flown all around the world and around the country at the huge gatherings. And a couple other things that are going on. Oh, you still got now you got the trial of the police for the whole what's his name? Floyd, whatever his name is. Dude who got jujitsu to death with the shin choke across his neck. Why can't I think of his name now? But anyway, everyone knows who he is. Floyd, whatever his name is. So all these gatherings of people. Oh, not to mention what happened at the Capitol. So all these things that are or if that was even real or not, because there's rumor that could have happened at a studio because someone broadcasted a video showing the Capitol at the time, that it was all over the news that this was going on, and this person lived at the Capitol, and from their point of view in that camera that was playing at the time, well, everything's questionable. But nevertheless, all this information is going to be used to say that the Crown 19 is spreading like crazy. And they're already starting to, in the way all these different nations are joining on together, you can see that this is a global agenda. And what else has happened? Oh, you have cryptocurrency wars. You got the cryptocurrency versus the reserve currency controllers. The Treasury Department has its own police force, right? The feds have not the feds as in the FBI, the Federal Reserve, which is not federal at all. The Federal Reserve is not a part of your government. Yet it dictates policy here in America. That goes to show you how these lie IQs have failed these so-called smart people in America. All right? Like I always say, never trust a man with a bald face and a necktie. All right? Especially one who's really pink and red, and his shirt is white and his skin doesn't match that. But nevertheless, these people are at war with one another. All right? They're sending people from the Treasury Department are actually going door to door and arresting people and confiscating machines and cryptocurrency, mainly the Bitcoin. So everybody's been running to Bitcoin and putting this worth this and it's worth that. Anything they can't control, they want to get rid of. They created the reserve currency, which is cash, and they can't control it, because people can still deal with cash privately. They don't want anything done privately. So they're now cracking down and locking up and fining people who are using Bitcoin. So what you see is an escalation of the Egyptian versus the Egyptian. Let me grab a quick scripture. One of my favorites. I bring it out all the time because it's so relevant to what's going on and on so many different playing fields. But this is Mark 3:24. Actually, I'm going to start at 23. And he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, a race, right? That house, that race cannot stand. The Edomites are divided. All right. And what's the saying? United we stand, divided we fall. What happened to the nation of Israel when the northern kingdom split from the southern kingdom? All of Israel fell. Same thing's going to happen to Edom. And it reads, and if Satan rise up against himself, and be divided, he cannot stand, but haveth an end. So he's letting you know that the house of Satan is a people, is a man, is a group of people, and you're looking at one. And let's let his tongue fall upon himself with he and his guests.
And with JobKeeper ending today, all eyes are on what kind of jobs cliff Australia is about to fall into. The best estimate is somewhere between the Commonwealth Bank's forecast of 110,000 people and Treasury's forecast of 150,000 people. But is the economy still existing in some kind of fake bubble? Property prices, they're going through the roof, and Australia's growth figures are artificially based on where we were during the pandemic, which was in a recession. Well, make sure you're sitting down, because one of the world's most famous financial strategists,
not only make sure you're sitting down, you probably want to have a stiff drink.
Harry Dent is predicting a worldwide economic collapse, the biggest crash ever, he says, by the beginning of July. Now,
and it's got to happen. And it looks like it very well could. And I said it. Look, you got to remember that image that went out about mandatory Maxine Waters in July. All right. It's a lot of stuff that's going to happen midsummer. All right. You got to be blind not to see it.
Was one of the only commentators to predict Japan's 1989 bust and the dot-com crash. He's now telling the world, including Australia, to sell before it's too late. I caught up with Harry Dent from Puerto Rico earlier this afternoon.
And it's funny how these guys always go to a neutral spot when they're telling you that everything's about to go haywire. All right. And even though, you know, Puerto Rico is going to be no paradise, it will be, considering, because there's enough food that grows natural in Puerto Rico right there on the trees, and they got the sea there, the fish, so you can always eat. That's for sure.
Do we have reason to be optimistic about our economic future? Because in Australia, at least, people seem to have a very optimistic view of how things are progressing out of this pandemic.
You know, Chris, that's exactly how every top in the market has ever looked. In 1929 in the U.S. or 2000 in the tech bubble last in the U.S. and around the world. At the top of a boom, things look good. And when you have a pandemic and governments like the U.S. print trillions of dollars to just get the economy back to not even, and it's not back to even, by the way, I have all the statistics on that in the U.S. It's like, oh, everything's great, and the markets are higher highs than ever.
Well, they're printing money because the money is failing. So they're playing the role of Joseph in Genesis, but on the left-hand side, trying to control the money. Joseph was controlling the money for good so that the people may survive. They're purposely destroying everything and bringing it down so that they can bring in this global reset. This is Genesis 47. And I'm going to start at 13 because that's kind of what's happening here with all the food lines around the country. But it says, and there was no bread in the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And famine is going to set in. All right. The supply chains have been completely and totally disrupted, and it's only going to get worse. And hyperinflation, inflation is setting in, and hyperinflation is right behind it. And that's pretty much what Harry Dent is talking about. It's evident that it's going to happen and soon. All right. And he's predicting this summer, no later than 2022. Maybe even 2023, but the way things that are looking, nah, it's not going to last that long. I don't want it to last that long, and I didn't believe that it would, just from my amateur view of it. You know, this guy's a professional. This is what he does for a living. Economic predictions. He's already predicted a bunch of things and was accurate about them. Okay, things that have been historical. Verse 14, and Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they had bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money failed in the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. So the money's going to fail here in Egypt again, but it's going to be no one to save you from what's about to happen. It's going to play itself out this time, and there's going to be a lot of death, a lot of blood, a lot of starvation. It's going to get real bad, people. It's going to get real bad.
The stock market, Chris, is the most overvalued in all of history. At the end of the greatest boom in history. And it's going to go down. I'm sorry. I hate to be realistic after being the most bullish person in all of history. In the early 90s, in the recession there and worldwide, in the U.S. and Australia, that said, we're going to see the Dow 10,000 by 2000. People thought I was nuts. No, I'm saying at 33,000 on the Dow, we're going to go down.
But isn't stimulus good for the economy, given the fact that things have slowed up so much?
He said we're gonna go down. And when he said that, you notice this guy started laughing. Hold on, let me take that back again.
Given the fact that things have slowed up so much?
Hey, Chris, okay.
He actually laughed. He had to hold himself. He's like, okay, wait a minute. Let me show you. But let me read this. This is Jeremiah 51. Start verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own land, for her judgments reaches unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. So there's no way out of what's about to happen here in Babylon. This place is finished. Let's let Richard, Mr. Dent, explain a little bit more.
If I want to feel good, can I drink a cup of coffee? That's what they do in the economy. The economy is dead. It's been dead since 2008-9. We've come out of the worst recession since the 1930s, and we cannot get it back up no matter how much. 12 years of stimulus, Chris, printing money, and now fiscal stimulus in the U.S. and other countries. Are you kidding me? If this economy is not dead, I don't know what dead is. If I was on the hospital show after this many defibrillators, I would say the patient's dead.
So he's telling you, man, it's done. There's really nothing much they can do. They're going to have to go a reset, so they're going to have to go ahead with their plans. And the plans is to go digital. And that digital is connected to the MOB and the waters. You gotta take those waters, and you gotta get the MOB, and then they're gonna go digital. All that is very close at hand. At the same time, you're looking at World War III, crazy weather patterns, storm after storm, wildfires, earthquakes. It's all happening. This is Isaiah 24:11, and it reads, "There is crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone." All right. They tried to party up, but they can't. And you're not partying like you were. Right now, they just faking the funk. All right. They are straight up faking the funk. It is done.
Also got a problem in the Australian context where, as a result of the pandemic, we've seen this incredible growth in the value of property. So we've got property prices which are going sky high at the moment. That's got to come to an end too, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Chris. I'm telling you, Chris, I love Australia. You have the best demographics into the future of any developed country in the world. U.S. is sideways. Most of Europe is down. East Asia, Japan, Korea down forever. You're the golden jewel. But you have this real estate bubble, which already was the second worst in the world, only to China compared to income. And now, like you're saying, prices are going up faster. And this is happening in the U.S. as well. In the last stage of this bubble, that's when you know you're in a bubble. That's when it's euphoria. that's when the bubble is getting ready to peak. When people say, I'll pay any price for a house in Sydney or a flat in Sydney, that's when it's about to blow.
So how hard will the fall be then for the world?
Okay. For the U.S., I'm seeing 70 to 90% in the stock market, 40 to 50% in real estate. Australia, maybe 30 to 40% in real estate.
You talking about mass suicides and riots and people going crazy. All right. And we already know that when these Edomites lose it, they lose it, man. They go get their guns and mass shootings and kill every damn body. It's getting ready to get nuts out here. This is James, the 5th chapter. And it reads, Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. For your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Never gonna see it, man. You're never gonna see it. Verse 4. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, mainly the Israelites and the average American citizen, the way you rape them with taxes with your illegal money system. All right. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, the armies of man, the armies of heaven, the Lord of Sabaoth. All right. It says, you have lived in pleasure on earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as if it were in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. And that's talking about the Israelites, man. All right. And now it's time to pay. Payment is coming. All right. It's coming. Matter of fact, let's go to our Revelation 18:6. And it reads, reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her, and Salakia, and double unto her, double according to her works, in a cup which she hath filled to her double. So you're going to have double the cup of affliction, double the cup of taxes, double the cup of slavery, double the cup of misery. Call halal YAHAWASHI BAHASHAM RAKAKUDASH WA ABA BAL SHALOM KWAM YASHARALlah.